Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you guys for tuning in. What's good, fans? What's good, fans? Thank you guys for joining in to the Voice of the Fans podcast. Today is Sunday special. We're gonna get at you guys just to give you some content on a Sunday afternoon. So thank you guys for tuning in. We got heavy basketball day today, obviously, with the playoffs just upon us. Um, we got the NFL draft coming soon, right up. So we got a lot of things to talk about, fans. Today, though, we're gonna do kind of a recap, recap on man. I've got to talk about OJ Simpson. I got to talk about OJ Simpson and what he means to what he has meant, I should say, to society and in the various stages, whether it's the sports world, whether it's the media world, and then obviously whether it's the reality TV world and how that impacted the world. I don't know. Um, Wherever you guys are tuning in, however you're tuning in for the show, I'm not sure your age range. I mean, this happened nearly 30 years ago. The OJ Simpson murder case, but he had a legacy way well before then. And so, but I mean, you have to be at least 30 years old, 35, 40 years old to recognize the impact that OJ Simpson had on the NFL, that OJ Simpson had on, um, and then what his murder case had on society. Like that really changed things in multiple ways. So I want to get into that as well. Um, we're going to talk about a little bit about Iverson, and Iverson got a sculpture unveiled, memorialize his signature carrying move. If you ask me, Iverson got away with carrying way far too often, and I think that's what made him helped. I say helped to make him an iconic figure in the NBA was that signature carrying move that as soon as he retired, I mean that was kind of taken out of the league because it was illegal. But yet and still, they allowed him to get away with it for so many years in the NBA, made him an iconic figure, obviously. And then I want to talk about where he ranks. I'm not going to count his. I mean, where did he end up playing in Memphis, in New Orleans, in Denver? I forgot where he ended up playing because by the time he was traveling the world, I mean traveling around, he was not the same Allen Iverson. So I just want to look at where does he rank in as the greatest Sixer of all time. And so I want to get into that conversation as well. And then I'm gonna throw a bone to where to throw you guys a bone as to what we talk about whether Brady talking about contemplating returning to the NFL if that's possible, or whether Shohei Ohtani um talk about the Shohei Ohtani situation and where that stands. Um we're gonna get into that, have that conversation as well. But first, man, I gotta talk about again OJ Simpson, rest in peace. Regardless of whether you think he was guilty or not, um, we gotta talk about it, OJ, and again what he meant to shoot the sports world, again the media world, what he meant to um, just what OJ meant to everybody. OJ, if you played football and you played tailback, running back, you wanted to wear number 32. Either and then this is back in the 70s or 80s. If you played that position, you wanted to wear 82 or 32, excuse me. Um because of either OJ Simpson or Jim Brown. No, I played running back, but I didn't want to wear 32. I didn't want to be like everybody else. So I wanted a different numbers. I didn't want to wear the same numbers everybody else wore. So that was kind of why I tried to be different in that respect. But I recognize OJ, Jim Brown. It was those of you who watch the show, you see, I've been fortunate to meet Jim Brown in person a few times before he passed away. But Jim Brown's legacy, I mean, the clips that we see Jim Brown, was he was just a beast out there. OJ Simpson was much more finesse. He much more was able to, show off his cutting skills, his speed, his endurance. He had some power too, but he was much more of a finesse running back. In my opinion, um, dating back to his college football days at USC, where he won the Heisman Trophy. I mean, his ability to cut back on players, his vision. Um, One of my most memorable um, moments of OJ. Oh, there we go. Oh, you got in, huh?
Yeah, I had to do a little revision here. Apologize for the smaller screen.
Well, let's give Cleveland a round of applause for tuning in, fans, finally being able to make it. I know we're at we're over. We got nearly 300 shows, and Cleveland has a problem logging in. I don't understand what the issue is, but he's with us today, and I'm not going to give him too much flack about it. But Cleveland. I was just talking about OJ Simpson and his his impact on, man. I think OJ Simpson has so much impact on not only the game of football, but the media landscape. And then he changed. I mean, his court situation, his court case, kind of changed television. Introduced us to reality TV, because I mean, you have to be you have to be 40 years old to recognize, to understand the impact that situation, that court case had in 1992, or was it 92? I think it was 1990.
94.
You have to, I mean, you have to be 30 years, at least 40 years old, to understand the impact that had and how that changed television. Yeah, move your screen down just a little bit, if you can. There you go. Great. So it was, but so OJ Simpson impacts. I mean, I want to. This isn't just a murder situation. The murder case. We have to give respect to OJ Simpson as a football player. Um, Heisman Trophy winner at USC, arguably one of the best rushers in college football, right, of all time. He'd arguably be one of the best NCAA rushers of all time. Um, I was mentioning before you came on that if you play football in the 70s and 80s, you wanted to wear 32 because one or two guys, OJ Simpson or Jim Brown. And I believe that to be true. I mean, how many guys wore 32 or 33 because of him? Um, he was the first person to rush for 2,000 yards, Cleveland, in a 14 game season. Cleveland, he did that in 73, man. So that was 40 years ago that he accomplished the 2,000 yard mark. Now, granted, it was 2,003 yards. But Cleveland, in that season, Cleveland, he rushed for 6 yards a carry, Chief. 6 yards per carry. Do you understand the impact that that's getting it done? that is getting it done at 6 yards per carry. Cleveland, he rushed for 143 yards per game. Again, we're talking about a guy who was coming in a 14. This is 14 seasons in an era where the best athlete played running back, and you knew who was getting the ball. Now he had an offensive line in front of him. But Cleveland, I mean, that's remarkable. That's literally remarkable. 143 yards per game, Cleveland. What do you think about what he was able to do as a football player in Buffalo?
Incredible impact, like you said, one of the greatest rushers of all time. A combination of size and speed that is rarely seen in the NFL, and he certainly put the mark very, very high. The raised the bar to a level that very few people, even in 2024, are able to accomplish in a 17 game season. So just goes to show you what his accomplishments were.
My most vivid memory of OJ. So, I mean, he played before my time, but there was still uh, a breath of clips from OJ, and you could still see the games. It wasn't so far like Jim Brown. There's no game tape. There's very little game tape of Jim Brown, but there was a lot of game tape of OJ Simpson, especially that 2,000-yard season. Um, when he ran to the corner, he was running toward the sideline. This is my most vivid memory of OJ, and his agility speaks directly to his agility. And he kind of did he was running towards the sideline, kind of did a slide like a player would slide in second base, and and the defenders flew out of bounds, and he got up and kept running. I don't know if you remember that clip or you recognize the clip that I'm talking about, but that was I think OJ was more finesse, where Jim Brown, I was comparing it to earlier. Jim Brown was much more a power running back. Um, but what's your most vivid? Do we have a vivid memory of OJ um running the ball?
As a player, I would say that's probably the iconic play. He had a few where he kind of reversed field and kind of stopped and went back the other way, and then just hit the gas, and no one could catch him. But the one where he slips down like he's sliding into second base and then pops right back up and then just keeps it moving. That's kind of I think for our generation, given the fact that we didn't get a chance to see OJ kind of like on a weekly basis because we were too young to really to witness it. From the highlights, that's the one that always sticks out in my mind as well.
Um, then so after OJ's career, which again, if you were born in the 70s, I mean, you saw OJ in the Hertz commercials. You saw OJ, um, captivate America because there was no at the time there was no other black person making um on these major commercials for a major company highlighted in commercials like that. OJ was the only one. Um OJ then went to NBC, and I mean his not going to say he had an illustrious media career or commentating career, because I don't think it was, but he was, they NBC put him out there whether he was good or bad. They kept sticking him out there. Um, a few seasons in the early '80s. Then he turned and made the Naked Gun movies, which were kind of a spoofish kind of movies. What was the character's name? Nelson somebody. I can't think of the lead character Nelson, but who was kind of a clownish kind of actor.
Oh yes, you're referring to Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen, thank you. He just kind of made some kind of clownish, kind of over the top funny movies, right? Um, and then his parts of the Naked Gun. Everybody knows where he falls to the window, and the window falls on his hand and gets his hand cracked. Then he falls into the cake, and he just kind of ruined everything. And then he takes the wheelchair. Was the one where the wheelchair went down the steps at the stadium? He was in the wheelchair and it rolled down the steps at the stadium. Like that was kind of just spoofish, kind of slap was it knee slap comedy. It was, but it was again OJ Simpson on the big screens in the bright lights in a predominant in a primary role, where Jim Brown tried that. Jim Brown couldn't get those parts. You know what I'm saying? Jim Brown had some other stuff going on too. Some allegations that we're not going to get into, but Jim Brown tried that. He just couldn't get those parts that OJ Simpson got, and made him kind of even elevated his status in the circles of Hollywood, and in the circles on the golf course. Everybody wanted to be around him, right? Everybody wanted to a piece of the juice, if you will. Um, and then Cleavon, I mean, the most memorable moments, I guess, it may be in OJ's life is that situation on June 17th, 1994. I mean, a lot happened that day. On what is it? They did a 30 for 30, right? On June 17th, just that day alone. June 17th, 1995, where they had the Bronco chase. I don't know where you were, Cleavon, but I remember specifically where I was and watching Hakeem Olajuwon go up against Patrick Ewing and the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals, and then all of a sudden They break, they do the half and half during the NBA finals in the 80s. This is no longer, excuse me, this in the 90s. This was no longer NBA on tape delay. This is no longer NBA. NBA had made its mark, right? This is post Jordan. No, excuse me, wasn't post Jordan. Jordan had retired, so this is kind of in midway of Jordan's season, or Jordan's career. Excuse me. When they went half screen, Cleveland, where were you when they went half screen watching the NBA finals, or were you even watching the NBA finals? Let's get that. Let's clear that up first. Were you even watching the NBA finals at that time? Were you watching the game?
For sure I was watching the NBA finals,
Well,
and
we had to clarify that. I wasn't sure, Cleveland, because your NBA knowledge is kind of sketchy. So I'm not sure how far you date it dates back for you. So where were you June 17, 1995, watching the NBA finals, Akeem versus Patrick Ewing for the second time, because they played in college too, right? When they did the split screen. And the 405, the white Bronco was driving down the 405 or up the 405 with OJ in the car. Where were you?
yeah, I was at a friend's house in the U District. We had just left a bar called Dante's and went back to his house to watch the game, and uh, that breaking news came on. It was quite shocking.
Um, it was and I had just moved. I had just moved. I was in Hampton, Virginia at the time, and just moved. Uh, was going through a breakup. And just left the girl's house, and just got my own place. So I didn't have cable at the time. So if you remember when you didn't have cable, luckily the NBA Finals was on, NBC at the
And you
time.
see,
Um, but I was still playing with the rabbit ears because I couldn't get a clear picture. So I situated the TV so I can, and you have to get the TV at the right angle, let the air hit it from the window at just the precise angle just to get a clear picture. And I had set everything up, got sat down, and got comfortable. I just moved in, like, man, I was in the house probably 3 days, but obviously this is the NBA Finals, so I got to make time for watch the NBA Finals. And as I sat down and got comfortable, then they broke in the screen. They went to the half screen, and I was like, at that time, that's when most of America outside of Los Angeles heard about the Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. That's most people heard about it, right? Um, and then the OJ Chase, Cleveland, man, that was wild, man. In the situation now, having been in LA, kind of learned the history of Los Angeles. That was coming only a couple years after the Rodney King situation. I mean, this stuff was palpable in LA, even when I moved there in '99. Like, this stuff was still palpable. A real quick story. Um, it was it was 2002, so it was 10 years after the Rodney King situation, the Rodney King beating, and I was in. I moved to LA in '99. I was in near Marina Del Rey, which is kind of south of West LA. It's a suburb of Los Angeles, but a affluent suburb, if you will. And they were talking about it on the radio, and I pulled up to the stoplight. And as I pulled up to the stoplight, they're talking about it on the radio. And a white lady pulls up to a stoplight. Now, this white lady had to be in her. She was 45 to 50. And I asked her, and I rolled down my window, got her to roll down her window. And I asked her, I said, how has Los Angeles changed? This is 10 years. It was kind of an unfair question. But how has Los Angeles changed since the Rodney King situation? And she looked at me, gave me a look like, what the hell are you talking about? We're at the stoplight, right? So we got it's less than a 2-minute interaction. She looked at me and she says, I don't know and I don't care, and rolled up her window. So what that told me, Cleavon, is she didn't really want to discuss. She didn't even want to discuss the race situation because where I was at in Marina Del Rey. I mean, you have to be affluent to even live in the area. Not people who's not affluent to even go to the area. That she didn't. It wasn't even it didn't even want to register in her psyche because she's something she don't want to deal with, right? So she just can. She can ignore the situation and just keep on about her life like it never happened because that happened over there on that other side of town. You follow what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So it was, but that again, it was still palpable. That was 10 years later. And then this situation happens a couple years after that. Now they go on trial. OJ went on trial in 95 in January. So that happened in June of 94. June 17 of 94, the police chase. OJ went on trial January 95. Cleveland, that's when Court TV was born. Had you heard of Court TV before then? Every day they're on the scene every day during the whole 18 months of the whole trial. You hadn't heard of Court TV before then, or at least I haven't. Now we made her watch Judge Wapner and People's Court in the afternoon. Maybe you watched it with your grandmother. I don't know. I watched that with my grandmother, Judge Wapner. We all know what Judge Wapner is, right? This was Judge Wapner times 10 because this was all day, every day. CNN. First they try to cover it on their regular network, but then within 3 weeks, I think CNN had a channel dedicated specifically to the OJ case, specifically toward the OJ case. Again, you guys have to be 40 to understand how this really changed television. Like if you guys, if you're under 30, you guys just think there was always reality TV. There was always this 24/7 breaking news. Obviously with the cell phone now that we have, the internet we have access to so much more information. But back then, we didn't have the internet. The internet wasn't as prevalent as it is today. Cell phones, smartphones weren't as prevalent as they are today. So that CNN's dedication to the OJ channel, the Court TV, was, if you were following this case, you tuned in to CNN every night and their Court TV every night because you want to keep up to what was going on in the trial. Am I wrong, Cleveland? You tell me if I'm underselling that situation.
It's an absolute fact. And in addition, I recall Geraldo Rivera basically dedicating 2 years of his career to every detail and nuance of the OJ Simpson trial. And in addition, it made everyone that was associated with the trial, made them famous, from the judge Lance Ito to the prosecuting attorneys Marsha Clark and Christopher Darden to the defense attorneys, the dream team, as they called it, of Shapiro and F. Lee Bailey, and by the way, a guy named Kardashian, Shrek, and the late great Johnny Cochran. So everybody got a piece of it. Even the guy Cato Kalin that lived in the back house. I mean, even he got famous, got his own show. But yeah, it certainly changed the landscape of how certain things are covered, and that was the first one.
That was it. Boost. I'm not praising the double murderer. First of all, I mean he did get off. First of all, or he got convicted of the civil case, but in the case, I mean, he was acquitted. But I diss Allen Iverson. How am I dissing Allen Iverson? I mean, if you disagree that Allen Iverson got away with carrying, Boots, what's up? Thanks for tuning in, Boots. I appreciate the commentary. But if you disagree with Allen Iverson got away with carrying every game, I mean, Boots, you need to go back and turn on YouTube and go look at that. Iverson had way more impact than OJ did as a player. Oh, Boots. Oh man, come on. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about Iverson a little bit. Hold that thought, Boots. Stick with us. But yeah, as you're right, everybody who's a part of that case, had their run at infamy, if you will. You meant down. Marsha Clark had a TV show for a moment. Darden trying to get out of America because he was shunned by so many people. Johnny Cochran went crazy. I mean, there's still lawyers that was on that dream team that's still eating off of their time. Um, but that was just that was a wild situation, and so Boots brought up a point that Iverson had more impact than OJ did. I disagree with that. But what is your lasting memory of OJ? Is it getting acquitted by the dream team, if you will? Is it what he did on the football field? Is it his Hertz commercial and Naked Gun movies? Cleveland, what's your lasting memory of OJ Simpson?
It is his expression of absolute relief when the announcement of not guilty came back. Just the, oh my gosh, can't believe this actually went through the way that it did. Just that look of, wow, I don't have to go to jail for the rest of my life.
Well, we all know he ended up going to jail in Las Vegas for something, that was probably uh, what is it? It wasn't worth 33 years that they gave him. It was probably worth. Geez, I'm having a brain fart of suspension. I'm having a brain fart. It wasn't worth 33 years. He shouldn't have gone in jail for going to Vegas and trying to go into the hotel room to recover some of his stolen property. I mean, but because everything else that went on, this was there. Vegas was showing, okay, you can't get away with that with this stuff over here, so you're going to 33 years. Probation is the word I was looking for. You probably should have been a probation type of situation. What happened in Vegas? Um, but yeah, I mean, OJ just his impact on the football. I think he had a much more, and why he was more impactful than Allen Iverson, who I'll get to in a minute. Boots is because not only he had a Hall of Fame career in football, but then he turned around and had a very successful career on the big screen, whether it was TV commercials or the movies. He had it was, you don't want to say just as successful, but I mean he did it long enough so it was very successful. And then the unfortunate murder case situation um, was, I mean, just changed society and changed television. That was much more impactful than anything Allen Iverson did. And Allen Iverson, and we'll get to it, Cleveland, and because Allen Iverson had a sculpture um, unveiled this week, a couple days ago. And did you see the sculpture that they unveiled for Allen Iverson?
Yeah, I did, and I'm still a little bit confused by the whole thing. I hear conflicting stories, and I've seen conflicting pictures, so I'm not really quite sure what to make of it all.
Well, so it was a sculpture, and so we say statue, but it was actually a sculpture. But most of the other players, the other 8 or 9 players that have sculptures, if you will, are similar size on the little Walk of Fame outside of the Philadelphia 76ers arena. So nobody, it wasn't like they made his smaller than everybody else. He was just kind of right along with the same size as the other statues that are there. But that statue memorialized, and this is what a Boots takes offense to. That memorialized his carrying, Allen Iverson's carrying, that he, I don't want to say was known for, but it memorialized his carrying that he did every game, every single game that he played. I just thought it was funny that was a move that they try to capture in the sculpture. It's clear as day. He's carrying in the sculpture. So if he didn't when you grew up in it, no, dog, how many people were 32, man, because of OJ or Jim Brown? Okay. Not saying he was that. He wasn't the cultural icon that Iverson became, because Iverson, I'm gonna do it my way. The tattoos, the cornrows. I'll grant you that. However, that's one aspect. OJ's impact, I just gave it to you, span not only the on the field, on the big screen in the movies, and then his the court case situation changed television. So I don't know how you can disagree with that, Boats, but I appreciate your commentary nonetheless. Um, Cleveland, you saw the carrying statue, right? Where he has the ball up here and he's bent down carrying. Is that not a carry? Is that not a carry? First of all, is that
So
not a carry?
from 96 to 98, they were a
Is
lot
that
more
a
they were a
carry?
lot more
No,
lenient with
answer
regards
the
to
question. Is
the
that a carry?
crossover.
Is that a carry when the ball is above your head? The ball
It
is
is a
above your head.
carry if you have the basketball underneath the basketball in your hand. That's a carry. You're carrying the basketball. Um, it's always been borderline to me. I think there were
You
obviously
disagree.
times.
So you don't agree that Allen Iverson signature move was a carry? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I don't think he carried it all the time, but I do think that he carried it a good percentage of the time,
Are
for
you
sure.
Was Allen Iverson's signature move? Did it involve a carry, Cleveland? That's a yes or no? I don't
No,
need a
it's
fluff.
not because he didn't carry all the time. He did carry a good percentage of the time. So, for example, when he crossed over on your boy MJ, that was not a carry.
I didn't say that wasn't a
He just
carry.
crossed him over.
I agree. That was not a carry.
Right. So sometimes he did, and sometimes he didn't. I'm not going to sit here and say that that move was never a carry because it was, and a lot of times they called him for it. But you know, I would say maybe 60-40, not a carry.
Boots, was that a carry? Tell me if the Boots was that a carry or not? Boots, was that a carry or not?
The problem is that he could
That's
do
all I'm
it
saying.
without carrying a lot more often than a lot of his counterparts. And so when they would try and do it, it was always a carry because they didn't have the finesse and they hadn't mastered the move. So it got called quite often. I think him and Kobe are the ones that, with that style of crossover, um, did it the best.
Um, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say.
So you think he carried? So you think he carried it every single time he crossed over?
85% of the time, Allen Iverson carried the ball. 85%.
See, and I'm saying more like 40%.
No, it was. But I will tell you a story. If I haven't told you guys the story before, I mean, I'm sure I told Cleveland before. I moved to Hampton, Virginia in '93, in like August. And Hampton, Virginia is a small town. Neighbors, Newport News, Virginia, where Allen Iverson from, where Mike Vick is from. Um, Unbeknownst to me, I hadn't heard. I think I maybe heard of Allen Iverson, but I didn't know who he was at the time. And downtown Hampton was having a when I got there, I moved to Hampton, Virginia. So again, Hampton is a pretty small area in Virginia, southeastern Virginia. And I moved to walking distance, like 2 or 3 blocks away from downtown Hampton, which is probably like a four square block area. And they were promoting these Hampton Bay Days. And it was like I don't want to say a beer garden, kind of like a city festival, but it was just like a small area. But you had to buy a ticket. You had to be 21 to get in because they were serving alcohol. But there was only 2 entrances to these to the area. Like they had to close the streets off so you couldn't walk or drive down the street. But there was only 2 entrances, and I was driving because I was figuring like where were we going to park, or I didn't know where to go. But on these 2 entrances, there was a lot of us with t-shirts, black t-shirts that says "Free Allen Iverson." And this is months after the bowling alley situation. And again, I had heard of but I didn't know who it was. And so they it said free Allen Iverson on both entrance. There was a lot of people like essentially blocking the entrance, selling these t-shirts to the entrance of the Hampton Bay Days that weekend. And again, I'm thinking free Allen Iverson. I'm like, he must be some politician or somebody who got done wrong by the city. I had no idea who they were talking about. I didn't. It wasn't until like the following week, and again, this is pre-internet, so I couldn't look up on Bing or Google and see who Allen Iverson. This is pre that time. And it was on TV that Allen Iverson was on trial in jail because of the bowling alley brawl. But it was a high school guy. It was a high school kid. I was like, the city is riding for Allen Iverson like this, that they're selling these T-shirts, essentially ruining the Hampton Bay Days because it intimidated a lot of people. They were riding for Allen Iverson, and that just kind of showed me that, to your point, Boots, that the impact that Allen Iverson had on the Tidewater area of Virginia, because they were riding for him. Then obviously the situation, he ended up going to jail, missing his junior year. I think he missed his junior and senior year, but then his mom would reach out to John Thompson. That's how he got into Georgetown. But yeah, that was a pretty wild situation. Really pretty crazy situation. But where do you rank Allen Iverson as greatest Sixer of all time? Where does he rank?
3.
3 behind Wilt and Dr. J.
Oh well, if you count Wilt, then
You rank him all time. I mean, did Wilt not
okay.
play
Well,
for the Sixers?
he did. He did. Slow down. Then I'm going to give him number 4.
Okay, we're behind.
I'll throw Barkley in there in front of him.
Okay, help me out, Cleveland. I'm a little
So you
confused.
got Wilt, you got Dr. J, you got Charles Barkley, and then Allen Iverson. That's how my list of Sixers would go.
Where's Moses Malone in there?
He comes in slightly behind Allen Iverson. He didn't play there long enough.
He comes behind. He went there immediately, and they won a championship as soon as he got there.
Yeah, and how long was he there? He was there for 2 years.
Did he win a championship, Cleveland?
He did.
And so now all of a sudden championships are not a factor. Don't factor in your.
I think that if you play for a franchise for 2 years and someone plays for a franchise for 11 years, that yeah, there's a significant difference with regards to their impact to the franchise.
In those 11, so if you don't win a championship in 11 years, you're more impactful for the guy that won the championship. Was the determining factor. It wasn't like Moses was on the bench for 2 years. Moses was a factor in their championships, was it not? Was he not?
I would say that he was the missing piece for their 83 championship without question.
So a guy, Cleveland, the guy who always wants to throw rings at me instead of everything, rings above all else, a guy who actually brings a ring to the city, to the team. In fact, it was the only championship the team has had. Have they won a championship since then?
Yes, they have.
Have they
not since then, but they did win one before that.
No, since then, have they won a championship? I mean, that was okay. So a guy who's brought a championship to the team, and all of a sudden, a championship doesn't mean way more than your 11-year career.
No, not the 2 year. It's not as impactful in my opinion.
So I the only argument I have is I just have Moses ahead of Iverson. Because he brought a championship. If not for him, Doc doesn't ring a ring. Right? Do I have that twisted? If not for Moses,
that's valid. That's a valid point.
You can argue. I think you could. Did Barkley play there long enough?
Yeah, Barkley was there 9 years as well.
But they only got worse with Barkley on the team. Like they were no better than Barkley was there 84, 85. They were no better. They didn't get any better with Barkley on the team. They only got worse. Right? I'd argue that Moses goes ahead of Barkley, but I mean, it is what it is. That I'd be interested in. Boots, where does he rank Boots in the all-time 76er? Give us your feedback on that. Yeah, I have Irvin, I have Dr. J, Moses, Wilt, Barkley. And then I go Allen Iverson, and then Billy Cunningham. That's how mine will go. That's how my list will go. But it's funny, Cleveland. I'm gonna remember this because it's funny how all of a sudden rings don't mean anything. That's pretty odd.
I didn't say they didn't mean anything. I just said for someone that's only played for a franchise for 2 years, adverse someone who was the face of the franchise for multiple years. It's hard to say that they are more impactful to the franchise. For 4 years, really?
Iverson won an MVP, so that equals out.
So he was there until 86? I don't remember that, but okay.
But he won a ring, period. He was a determining factor in them winning the ring. If not for Moses, Doc don't win a ring. Like as you mentioned, he was a missing piece. So I consider that definitely carries more weight. He was more impactful. Here you go. Dr. J, Wilt, Moses, Iverson. So you got Iverson ahead of Barkley. I mean, I had Barkley ahead of Iverson. But I mean, that's a fair list. I'll take that list. That's a fair list, Boots. That's right along with you, right, Cleveland? Doc, Wilt.
That's the Moses. There was a slight switch. I have Iverson in front of. I have Iverson and Barkley in front of Moses, but
why are you shitting on Moses, Cleveland? When you talk, all of you talk about is rings, and you shitting on Moses like he wasn't a factor.
I am not. I'm just saying he wasn't there.
All you talk about is rings.
If he was there for 4 years, then I retract my statement. I thought he was only there for 2 years. I thought he was there the 83 season, and then the 84 season, and then I thought he got traded to Washington. If I'm incorrect with that one, and he was there for 4 years, then I recant my statement. I just don't think 2 years. In addition to rings, what else am I really all about? Extensive body of work, right? So if you're only with a franchise for 2 years and do something, that's a lot different than being with a franchise for 11, 12 years, in my opinion.
He was 82, 83, 82, 83, 83, 84, 84, 85, 85, 86 before.
Okay. So if he was there for 4 years, I thought he got traded to Washington after the second season. But if he was there for 4 years, then he has to move up the list. He was there for longer.
How does not the rings alone make the difference? He joins the team, they win a ring. Like clearly there's an impact as he's having.
So what you're saying is like Kawhi Leonard is the greatest Toronto Raptor like ever. Then
what are you gonna do? You're gonna tell me DeMar DeRozan?
As far as the face of the franchise for longer, yeah. If you're talking about a hired gun, a hired hand comes in, gets a championship, and played one season. Does that trump 9 or 10 years playing for the same franchise?
I think that's a bad comparison because
how is that a bad comparison? It's a bad comparison because Moses actually played there for longer. So he played there for 4 years. I was thinking he only played there for 2 years. But just because you go to a place and win a ring and you're not there very long doesn't necessarily ingratiate you to the fans other than you brought a championship there. Yeah. And Vince Carter as well. Thank you, Boots. We had just been talking about Vince last week, and so I kind of missed that one. But yeah. Do you think that Kawhi's a better Raptor than Vince Carter or DeMar DeRozan for that one season? He did bring them a championship, but he was only there a year.
Is Kawhi Leonard better than Vince Carter and DeMar DeRozan?
No, that's not
Absolutely.
what
Absolutely.
that wasn't your question. As far
Absolutely.
as the franchise is concerned, is he more of a beloved player than
He was there 1
Kawhi
year.
Leonard?
He
1
was
year.
there 1 year. If
It
we was
wasn't impactful 1 year. I mean, he brought them their only
yeah,
championship, the only
right.
championship ever won outside of the United States. But does that make him the greatest Raptor ever?
Again, the Raptors is a bad uh uh a bad example because I don't think um their franchise is extensive enough. We're talking about DeMar DeRozan. Vince Carter probably be the better. Damon
It
Stoudemire.
doesn't matter if it's as storied a franchise as the Philadelphia 76ers. The
It
question
does. It
was
does.
when you
It
rank your
does.
greatest Toronto Raptors,
I mean, Kawhi. You have to add Kawhi in the list, and I'm with you right here, Boots. I
he's
agree.
on the list for sure. But is he the greatest Toronto Raptor ever
I
for
mean,
winning the championship?
we'd have a long conversation because he's certainly more impactful than Vince Carter.
Okay.
Certainly more impactful than Vince Carter or DeMar DeRozan or Damon Stoudemire. Who else? Who else? Mo Williams. I mean, any of those guys. I mean, there's not there's no legendary players.
Kyle Lowry. I mean, you don't have to stretch it out too
Kyle
far. I'm
Lowry,
just saying, if
those
you're
are
only there for a year, even if you win a championship, you're only there for a year.
he won the championship in that year. That's pretty
Okay.
damn good. That's pretty damn good. I mean, and Vince again. I don't know if you caught the show during the week, but Vince going to the we had the argument a couple years ago. What is Vince known for? And the first thing you go was to the dunk contest. So, and he wore the Raptors uniform in the dunk contest, so he gave Raptors prominence. But come on, yeah, Kawhi Leonard is definitely over those guys. Any of those guys, far and above those guys. The greatest
Okay.
Raptor ever. I mean, because Vince played there 10 years. I mean, he might get the nod. You might have a more people going to Vince Carter's restaurant than Kawhi Leonard's restaurant. But Kawhi Leonard was the best Raptor, yes, of all time. Come on, cut it out. It's not even a question. It's not even a
Okay.
question. So yeah, but you, Cleveland, you cut it out. Trying to see Cleveland. I think he's slick, fans. He pulls his Donald Trump move on us every week now. It's becoming more and more prevalent where he wants to deflect and kind of change the topic. Cleveland, you have been about rings, and rings are that all that matters for 8 years on the show, and now we talk about rings with Moses Malone, and all of a sudden you got him number 4 behind somebody that don't even have a ring. Vince won finals in 11 years. Moses was there, and we'll go by your now we know he was there, confirmed that he was there 4 years, but we'll go by your initial statement that he was there only 2 years. The very first year he got a ring. How is that not impactful? How does that not elevate you into the on the totem pole?
If you play for a team for an extended period of time, you're more beloved in the city than if you play in the city for a short period of time.
For sure, Boots. I feel you, Boots. It's sports, though. Good point. Vince Carter kept him in business. We might
Yeah.
not have Kawhi. I mean, good. That's a great point. He kept him
And
around.
make no mistake about it,
He
Cam.
kept people
As we
coming.
round into the playoff
Oh boy, here we go.
format,
Here we
rings
go.
are incredibly important and significant. So I am not at all discarding the significance of a championship. But with regards to being
Just a
the
little
most
bit.
beloved in the history of a franchise, that is a completely different conversation. Is Kevin Durant more beloved than Chris Mullin in Golden State?
Is Kevin Durant? Oh boy.
He's got 2 rings and 2 Finals MVPs.
Again, you coming up with these obscure references.
I don't even.
Because
I'm just giving you the head scratches you don't really want to think about because you know the answer.
Everybody recognizes Kevin Durant went there to get rings. Everybody recognizes
which
that.
he did.
Yeah,
and,
he got
and a significant contributor. But that wasn't the question. The question is more beloved in the history of the franchise.
Let's talk about Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, that's moving right along. Moving right along.
I mean, that you can't go KD, man. You can't go KD.
Why can't you go KD? He's got 2 rings, 2 Finals MVPs.
That was a mercenary.
And like you said, and I will not take it back, I am all about the ring. However, if you're talking about more beloved and more important and impactful to the history of a franchise, that is a different conversation altogether.
Good point. So he's more accomplished, but not more beloved. Good point.
Very fair. Absolutely.
KD came in with a championship team. Even just with 1 ring, the current Warriors would be legends. Yeah, there you go. Appreciate you guys chiming in. There's some valid points to shut Cleveland up. Cleveland trying to make stuff up again. Here we go with the Donald Trump move. Cleveland Trump trying
not making anything up. And fans, make no mistake about it. We're going to get into real serious ring conversation in these next couple of weeks and what it means and how you get them.
What fans? I mean, here go Cleveland deflected. And so now we're going to get into more deflection from Cleveland right now with this conversation. Are we ready? I sent you an article earlier in the week, Cleveland. Shohei Ohtani, his ex-interpreter, turned himself in and admitted to even change. Would you tell me he ended up changing the password so notifications couldn't be found out? And it wasn't only $4.5 million that was embezzled. It was 16 million that was embezzled. Is that enough, Cleveland, to get you off of Shohei Ohtani's case?
No, that's not quite enough. I need a little bit more. I mean, it certainly is pointing in that direction. It's trending upwards with regards to his innocence, but I still need a little bit more forensic accounting, a little bit more face recognition, a little bit more explanation as to how you don't miss $16 million. From an accounting standpoint, a little more explanation with regards to exactly what he was able to do with changing those passwords. A little more explanation as to what illegal offshore booking account he was using. I've noticed they haven't chimed in or said nothing.
The offshore accounts? What are they going to say?
The illegal bookmaking activity. What are they saying about it?
No, there's nothing to be said. Is Shohei?
I mean, they could have someone over there that says, "Yeah, no, we talk to Shohei all the time."
What don't you think that would have come out by now? I mean, this is
that's what I'm saying. I need a little more extensive research. They're almost done.
LAPD's been on the case for over 3 weeks now. You don't think
but the Federal Bureau of Investigation hasn't smacked the gavel down just yet. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, why are you trying to throw the greatest baseball player ever played the game? Why are you trying to get him?
Look, his interpreter turned himself in. That's great. Yeah. I'm sure under the advisement of the Emperor of Japan, and it's time for him to do what's right, so to speak. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's what actually transpired.
Again,
I feel you, Boots. I feel like there's smoke and mirrors as well.
I don't understand what you guys are looking for. Okay.
I'm looking for some plausible explanation as to how you can just come up to the podium and say, "Oh my gosh, my interpreter stole $16 million from me."
He was on the podium 2 weeks ago and said he was shocked. He was beyond shocked, and he was saddened that the guy he entrusted to his accounts and everything, he would do something like that. He said that 2 weeks ago that he was shocked.
Yeah, I'm not 100% believing it.
What you want to see?
I need some more evidence. I need some more evidence.
You want to see him shed a tear? Is that what Cleveland? You want to see him shed a tear?
No, I just want to see a little bit more forensic accounting, a little bit more following the paper trail that leads directly to the interpreter and not to Shohei. And that Shohei knew nothing about it.
He didn't. The interpreter turned himself into the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah, at the behest of Major League Baseball and the leader of the country of Japan.
So you got the country of Japan, the emperor, involved in this situation as well,
and Major League Baseball as well. Yes, the commissioner.
Why would they do this for this newcomer in the game? Why would they do this?
Because he's the face of Major League Baseball right now, and having this type of scandal would certainly tarnish that image. Now, wouldn't it?
He's an image in his 4 seasons playing for the Anaheim Angels. He's the face of baseball already, Cleveland?
Correct. That's correct.
How is that possible that this kid with playing for the California Angels of Anaheim is already the face of baseball?
The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Put some respect on their franchise name. But that's just the way it is right now. There's not a lot of marquee players, and he is the signature dude right now.
Oh, so there's no Mookie Betts doesn't play for the team? Play on the
same team? He does, but not as popular as Shohei Ohtani.
My man Aaron Judge doesn't play in the biggest market in America.
He does, but he's not as popular as Shohei Ohtani. He's by far the most popular player.
Maybe those guys aren't as good as Shohei Ohtani. Want to say that? Clarify and say that.
I believe Aaron Judge has got an MVP under his belt. I believe Ronald Acuna Jr.'s got an MVP under his belt. So there are some players out there.
I didn't even bring up Acuna, but I just want to know: does Aaron Judge pitch? Has he took the mound in his Major League Baseball career?
He does not pitch.
Well, how about your guy Acuna Jr.? He like to bring up every other week. Has he taken the mound? Has he thrown a fastball or curveball?
That's not part of his responsibilities as an Atlanta Brave.
And then hit a home run in the same game. Has he done that?
He has not done that. No.
So why you keep trying to take down my man, the best baseball player ever?
I'm not. I was just building him up. I just did not just say he was the face of Major League Baseball. I'm building him up.
But you
which is why they're trying to dismiss this case as quickly as possible without going through the due diligence of really determining if he knew something or not. I haven't seen any phone records.
Oh, you see some phone records? You want to see phone records to the bookie who's been under investigation? That
did they look?
I mean, when you have the guy spewing his throwing himself to the court.
Yeah, but Cam, sometimes you just don't want to know. Sometimes you just don't want to pull the curtain back. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just don't want to know.
I mean, when you have the guy admitting his guilt, well, why don't you just take the guy admitting his guilt? Well, what's wrong with that? Why can't that be true?
Because I just said, at the behest of the commissioner of Major League Baseball and the leader of Japan, he's been, summoned to take this hit, fall on the sword.
You guys, man, I don't know what it's going to take, because I don't know what it's going to take for you guys to.
I just told you what it's going to take. It's going to take some more investigation. Okay. Some more investigation of the clearing of his name.
Okay, so when you get that more investigation, then it's going to be something else. You're going to move the needle again and say, you want faxes and you want the cell tower documents, and that's what you're going to say.
I just said phone records, bank records, and some type of communication from the bookmaking entity. They haven't said anything.
Oh, you're going to trust the bookmakers. You're going to trust the bookmakers and who they've been dealing with. That's who you're going to trust. Those criminals.
Question one: how did you let an interpreter run up a $4.5 million debt?
Because he's been paying on them. And he said, "I'm Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, so I'm good." Shohei just signed a 7. Did you hear about that?
Did you just hear yourself? Did you just hear yourself? Did you just hear yourself? I'm Shohei Ohtani's interpreter.
That's right. And
that's like saying I'm Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s massage therapist. I'm gonna run about $4.5 million betting tab. because I massage Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s shoulders. I mean, what are you talking about? I'm Shohei Ohtani's interpreter. That doesn't get you $4.5 million a credit line.
That doesn't get you a credit line. Well, apparently the credit line was like closer to 16 million. So,
wow. Oh, no, that's okay. Shohei Ohtani's interpreters is good for it. That makes sense to you?
It makes 100% that this guy was
no, it doesn't.
Money.
No, it doesn't. It does not make sense. It does not make sense that a booking agency extended a line of credit over $1 million to an interpreter.
Now you're going a little bit too far saying an agency. I think it was one person that he says, "I got you."
Oh, so this is just one person making bets just for Shohei Ohtani's interpreter?
Apparently. I don't think he was calling all over Southern California.
Yeah. That sounds silly.
He probably was dealing with one.
That sounds weird. Yes. That sounds strange.
You think Shohei Ohtani is calling bets in, or his interpreter was calling bets in from New York and Cincinnati and Florida?
You know, Cam, we don't know. That's why further investigation is needed. Can I get some phone records?
Oh, here we go. This guy. I can't wait to this. I thought this would be enough. I thought that article I sent you would be enough to put this situation to bed. But Cleveland needs more even further information and evidence that Shohei Ohtani is clean and 100% should be absolved from this situation. Apparently, YouTube boots. Shohei Ohtani will be absolved from this situation. And then I want to hear what you guys have to say about the best baseball player to ever put on stirrups and walk the major league diamond. I want to hear what you guys have to say after he's totally absolved, because you guys just keep moving the goalposts on this. Now Cleveland has the Emperor of Japan and Major League Baseball all in agreement with this situation. You guys ought to be ashamed of yourself. You guys ought to be ashamed of yourself for not trusting the greatest baseball player to ever play this game. You guys know there's a lot going into becoming the greatest baseball player ever. You know there's a lot, right? You have to coming over from Japan, and you have to rely on a lot of people. You have to rely on a lot of people to kind of make the situation happen. And he relied on his interpreter. And you guys don't want to understand that there's a lot. He's involved in training. He's already had the Tommy John surgery, so he has to recover from that. He has to stay in shape, and he doesn't have enough. He's not paying attention to his bank account because he has $750 million in the bank. He has so much money. He told the Dodgers, we can defer the payment, defer the first payment. Go pick up somebody else. He's making over $20 million a year just in endorsements coming over from Japan. So he can just say defer the payments. He's not.
Cam. I love how you're so. He's not even
checking his bank account when he tells the Dodgers.
I love how you're so cavalier with other people's money that you think that they just have a whole bunch of money, so much so that they don't even look at their bank account. They just walk through. They just glide through life like, oh well, I can just do whatever I want because I got a whole bunch of money in there. I don't actually know how much, but sure, when I need something, I just swipe, and that's cool. That's cool with me. That's all I need. I don't really need to know the exact amount. If it's $16 million life, well, oh well. I mean, what does that sound like to you?
It sounds like a man who's busy training and
focused. Man, that sounds like unrealistic. That sounds like an unrealistic accounting of how someone manages their money. Is what that sounds like.
Man, you guys.
There's no such thing as I have so much money. I don't know how much money I have.
No,
that's not. That's
no one said he doesn't know how
and
much.
He's money not, and even if so, he's not there.
He's not focusing on it, Cleveland. He's not focusing on it.
You don't have to be focusing on it, Cam, but eventually you will find out that you're missing some money.
And he found that.
I mean, picture this, Cam. Picture this, Cam.
I assure you,
Cam. Picture this. Picture this.
The day he was informed. The day he was
picture this one. He, according to your logic, to this very day, he still wouldn't know what was going on had it not been for the Federal Bureau of Investigation investigating a bookmaking scheme.
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
He still wouldn't even know. He's just that oblivious to how much money he has because he has so much money.
And since that day forward, I guarantee you now he is saying, okay, I need to pay better attention to my bank accounts. I need to pay better
Okay.
attention to the money that is coming in and out of my accounts. And so,
Mhm.
yes,
Okay.
has he changed his account number to Dodgers 17? He probably did. He probably changed his account number, and he probably only give it to his wife is probably the man just got married. So the man just got married a few weeks ago. So while you beating up the guy, it might have been his wife who you know how they're much better with money than
Or it
we are.
might have just been Shohei Ohtani.
It might have been his
We
wife.
haven't determined that yet.
You keep looking for something. You keep looking for excuses, and you keep looking for reasons.
I keep looking for something that exonerates him of any knowledge of sports wagering.
When the interpreter throws himself into the judge, throws himself on a court, and doesn't even beg for mercy, that should be evidence enough. And I don't know why it's not.
It's called coercion, Cameron. It's called coercion.
Oh my goodness, man. I mean, I can't go on listening to this garbage. I can't go, fans. We just wanted to give you a wet your palate with some sports topics. Thank you guys for tuning into the Voice of the Fans Sunday special. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. I really do. Thank you guys. Tell a friend about the Voice of the Fans podcast that we do every Wednesday. And again, on Sunday mornings, we just give you a touch of some of the sports topics. Thank you, Boost, for chiming in, man. Give yourself a round of applause.
Oops.
Give Cleavon a round of applause for being here today as well, for getting his technical issues. Fans, we've been doing this show for over 10 years now. Cleavon still having a problem chiming in. I don't know what that's about. But Two Reels 10, give yourself a round of applause too for being a part of the show. Thank you all for being a part of the show. Look for us on Wednesday night, same spot, same place. And lastly, thank you guys for making our voice your choice.